Hi, Joe Casey with Casey Aviation with your Checkride tip of the day. And the Checkride tip of the day is know the ACS. Now, legitimately, as a DPE, I have what's called a plan of action, a POA. Matter of fact, when the FAA evaluates me on every Checkride, I've got a POA, and it's a plan of action of what I'm going to do. And the plan of action, generally speaking, is going to be open up the ACS and go down that ACS, picking subject matters out of the ACS and being able to say, okay, I'm going to pick that one today and this one tomorrow. And then if I do a private Checkride, I'm going to pull this one out. But on every one of those subject areas, you never know which one I'm going to pick. What it means is on every single one of them, you need to have talking information. You need to have enough knowledge of that subject area to hold a conversation with me. So I'll give you a good example. One of them just simply says aerodynamics. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means I get to I need you to have a working knowledge of aerodynamics. So to be able to talk about left turning tendencies and asymmetrical thrust and adverse yaw. And definitely don't think you're going to get out of my Checkride unless you talk about the angle of attack. I've even asked like commercial pilot questions like, give me the lift formula. Well, am I allowed to ask that kind of question? The answer is, of course I'm allowed to. It says in there I can talk about aerodynamics. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be able to talk about supersonic aerodynamics or transonic aerodynamics if you're there for a private pilot Checkride. But it does mean that we need to be able to talk about these terms related to aerodynamics. So even stuff like if there's a subject matter area, even one that you don't think applies to you, like if a young person who's in great health comes to me and says, hey, this basic med stuff doesn't even apply. Well, it does apply because it's on the ACS. And so I can ask questions about basic med, because it's on the ACS. So the point is, every subject area that's there, you should be able to have a conversation about. You should have the meat and potatoes of that particular subject area where you can talk about them and be able to fluently. It doesn't mean you have to break it all down. It just means you need to have a good conversation about it. So if I ask you a question in there and I don't get a blank stare or clearly where you just don't understand it. So every point in the ACS, make sure there's not a single subject in there that you can't hold a conversation about. Joe Casey with Casey Aviation with your Checkride tip of the day.